Yeah, RobLive, what's up? We're back in the studio. I love the sound of that theme because it means we're about to meet somebody very cool. And also I get to spend some time with my buddy here, Jim from Chances Are Productions. How you doing, Jim?
Good, man. What's up? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And we were just talking about getting a Christmas tree in the back here, but because it's very festive right now. But part of my joy right now is not only the season, but the people who come with that season. And today there is a reason for the season. Ooh, I like that. His name is Thomas Hunter Nelson, better known as Tom Nelson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
That's our crowd right there. It's just a pool table with a black.
I like the way you guys roll.
We love our sound effects. We're going to be live one day. We'll get there, right, Jim?
Yep,
one day.
for sure.
So celebration, we hit 500 subscribers.
That's awesome.
Recently. I think that's a DJ horn. Is that a DJ horn for that one? There it is. Thank you all so much for supporting us and everything we're trying to do here. Jim said that all he wants for Christmas is not his two front teeth. He has those.
I have those.
He wants what?
1,000 subscribers. We're halfway there, Rob. We're halfway there.
The way he paused it was like 1 million.
1,000. Just 1K. Just try to get that number to the K.
There we go, folks. Please help us out, like and subscribe. But today we want to share about Tom. Wow.
Wow's right.
How long has it been?
Since I've seen you, or since I've known you?
How we've known you? 10 years, right?
I've known you about 10 years.
Wow.
I was first working in Hanford.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what was going on there and didn't know anybody or anything. You were one of the first people that I met. I think we were both... We both
Kindred
must have been
spirits.
really bad because we got sent to the same seminar.
Yeah. ERWC training in Tulare.
And I remember you had on a London T-shirt, and I was like, "What's up with that?" And you told me all about the library.
Yes.
And I was in love.
It was
if
awesome.
you were like a girl, we'd be married and divorced
there
by now.
And divorced?
So,
wow.
Yeah. Oh, I don't
out.
last long.
Yeah. Sorry, Leslie. Shout out to his wife, Leslie.
She's hanging in there, man.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Yeah.
She is. And I remember meeting her. That was awesome too. And so I remember at the time I was working in the Library for London project. Mm-hmm. And so we were both kind of doing a book literacy promotional thing. We're going to get into the MJ project as well, but I want to take it back to the beginning. I believe you're from the South.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
Wow, I just feel the humidity as we say that. Summers, right, in Jackson, Mississippi?
I cut a lot of grass in that humidity, so people go, "It's hot out here," and it's like, this is not hot, dude.
This is a joke, right?
Yeah, you would
mosquitoes
sweat going from your front door to the car. You're soaked already before your day gets started.
I've
mosquitoes as big as your head. It's like
so. Here's
a certain charm to it, though.
Of course, no, yeah. I'd love to get there one day. Unfortunately, at this point, everything that I know about Mississippi is shaped by the media and by television and movies. Mm-hmm. So I'm picturing in my head, what's the Samuel L. Jackson movie? Is it Mississippi Burning?
Yeah.
Is that the one? That's my picture of the South.
You know what? That's our history.
Yeah.
I'm 67 years old. I can't believe that. I'm still 13 inside. Hoping for 14 this year.
Forever young.
And it was the civil rights movement was going on when I was growing up. And
so you were in the midst of that.
Dude, I look at the history books that the kids have, and I'm going, and they don't believe me, but I go like, that's Main Street of my hometown. Medgar Evers was murdered in Jackson. He lived there. He was murdered in Jackson, Mississippi. Wow. When I was in the 7th grade, we went home for Christmas break, and it was desegregation. And there was on the front page of the paper, there was a map of where you're going to go to school because it was desegregation time. And I got.
Do you remember that first day?
I got bused to a black school, man. The bus came and picked my ass up.
And what was that like?
It was interesting. It was a little disorienting because all my friends, a lot of them stayed at our regular school, the way the map was drawn.
Yeah.
And I got bused. So it was a little scary. I like to play sports. And I was pretty good at sports until I went to my new school where I soon became very average. And
did you play on the teams?
Yeah.
What was your sport?
I love baseball and basketball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but that was my introduction to, like, I didn't know an African American person until, like, Little
Living
League.
in Mississippi.
Little League. made the all-star team and traveled a little bit and
Yeah.
played with some people that weren't white. And I worked my whole life. I cut everybody's grass, and I started working at the grocery when I was 15, and I worked with people that weren't white and made friends then. But it just,
Culture shock at first.
yeah, it was, I mean, our neighborhood and our school and our grocery store, and you didn't go to the,
Was it like the tracks, or what was the cutoff point for
a freeway,
a freeway?
yeah, highway.
Wow.
And we didn't see the violent part of it or anything, but there was just that separation, and my parents were kind, loving people, but I was not encouraged to mix,
Oh,
it's kind of
wow.
understood that, you stayed with your own
Yeah.
dudes. And, well, looking back on it, it's the history of it is very rich and very evil. And, when I moved to California as a writer, people would always go like, "You talk funny. Where are you from?"
Southern
And I'd
Southern
go
drawl.
from Mississippi, and they would look at me like, "Oh, you wear your shoes?" I mean, all these things. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, yeah, we even had cable TV and stuff like that. And so
Yeah,
they were
no.
always shocked about things like that.
Well, I hear that sometimes this is before the internet, pre-internet. A lot of our viewers, right? You guys have had access to different locations since you were young, but for some of the older folk like myself, we didn't have the internet growing up. So if I wanted to see a place, a lot of times I had to physically be there, or it was through television, right?
Right.
And so we had this stereotype in our head of what someone from the South looked like, and they wore overalls, and they had a piece of straw they were chewing on, and they
Yeah.
had the Southern drawl.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I spoke to, I said, well, what did Californians look like? Well, they surfed,
Surfboard. Yeah.
right? Blonde on the beach, complete opposite of me, right? So yeah, it's just, it's kind of cool that we've gotten past that,
Yeah.
and we can now explore places beyond just what is being fed to us.
Yeah, I lived there into my 30s, and I knew that I didn't want to be there forever, but just didn't have a real good reason to go. Hardly anybody leaves. I'm the only person from my family that left.
Wow.
Mississippi,
Yeah.
no friends left. I can't really conjure somebody that. One of my friends moved away, and he's a doctor now, but that just wasn't how you rolled. And there were some resentments from my friends and family.
Really?
Oh, we're not good enough.
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Tom's
And,
uppity Tom now.
Yeah, and I wasn't. I just wanted. Like you. I like to explore. I like different
Yeah.
experiences, different kinds of people,
Yeah.
and I just knew that wasn't my forever home. I think I wanted to see some other things, and
I think it's part of the natural progression of our growth, right? Our personal growth is being exposed to different environments and different people,
yeah,
right? And I think that there's a couple of different organizations that kind of have this down where it's embedded in their processes. Like, hey, we're going to send you away for a while,
right,
right? And you're going to go there. I'm thinking right now of the Latter-day Saints.
yeah,
They have a mission, right? You know that, Jim? You know about the mission? I think right after high school, it's 2 years.
Yeah, it's 2 years. Half my family's Mormon, dude.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know
grew up all around that. Yep.
Ask the
Never
man who
mentioned
owns
it
one.
once to me. So
I
yeah,
was never sent though. Yeah, I'm not Mormon.
yeah. But you go for 2 years, and I'm so impressed by these young people because they come by my house, and I'll bring them inside and we'll talk, and it's amazing how much they've acquired in terms of just being able to read a room, know how to relate to people, really respectful.
Right.
And it's very intimidating to go into, when you're a young person, into an adult's living room and share with them, regardless of what it is they're sharing. There's just this interaction and this level of confidence, and I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
you are impressive. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, thanks. And for them, it's like it's our everyday, and then we're gonna get moved and sent somewhere else, and it's part of this growth process.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me personally, and I'm sure you, Jim, I know you had left to Sacramento and to Bakersfield, right, several times. That there's this just inevitable growth that happens from just, hey, Tom, here you go, get in this room with nobody you know and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard. I mean, when I moved, we didn't have Siri. My sense of direction is not great. The
Yeah,
Thomas
the paper-
Guide,
the Thomas Guide
was
map.
my best friend, and
Yeah.
that was a rough ride. It really was a lot of adjustments, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Change has been good to me. It's
Well,
not always easy.
Yes.
But change has always been good to me, and I tell that to the kids. It's like, it seems impossible, but you got to try these things just to see who you really are and where you're really supposed to be. Don't be like everybody else. Don't do those things. It's okay to get out of line. And
I'm glad you're sharing that message with students. I think.
well, I mean, I ran into that a lot with our school kids, and still do. I know a lot of these young men a kid that I had in school is 15. He's 25 or 30 now.
Well, yeah.
And they still are don't know. They're still looking, and they're scared to leave. And I was too. I didn't have a reason to leave.
Right?
Until, but I just didn't. I was, getting by and having a good life, but something was missing. And I'm so glad I did that, though. Really.
So I want to get to that transition. So we're going to go back a little bit. And you said that at one point, I believe it was maybe in Jackson or somewhere in Mississippi, you were working at a country club.
I ended up writing a movie about an acquaintance of mine who murdered a woman. And he had a job at the country club, and we were both had won college scholarships, and we were doing these odd jobs.
What was your scholarship for?
Academic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to a college in town.
And this was in Jackson?
Yeah,
Jackson
I had won a
Mississippi?
college scholarship, and just trying to sock some money away. So we found ourselves at this country club. He had worked there before. He was a swim coach, and everybody knew him. And I was just picking up a few bucks. He was a pretty big man on campus over there, good-looking kid. He got a math scholarship from Vanderbilt. That's where he was going.
Oh, wow.
So.
And how long did you guys work together?
Not long. It was
long enough for you to.
Yeah, it was the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's how we knew each other, was from the neighborhood, and we just all hung out together. And he was a little bit older, but great guy. And his mom was our science teacher. I went to church with his two sisters.
This goes deeper than I thought.
They were in the youth group. And, we were like that. It was the hood.
Yeah.
Our little neighborhood. So, but did you want to talk about
the
rest of it?
What I want to do is I want to share the real life story.
Mm-hmm.
And then how that led into an unexpected career for you. Right.
So that summer, he was seduced by a beautiful older woman. And, we all knew everybody. It was like that.
Yeah.
And he was a virgin. He had some issues at home with his dad. And they had an affair throughout the whole summer. Like, he was teaching their kids on the swim team and stuff like that, little kids. And they
at
had
the
an affair
country, local country club.
Yeah. And then he went away to school. And
while all that was happening, were you a coworker?
I was doing a lot of different things, but we knew what was going on.
So the reason I'm asking this is because I watched the movie.
Yeah.
And there was a guy that he worked with.
Right, that's sort of
Is that the Tom Nelson?
It was. There were several of us,
and
there was stuff to do, and we were always hustling to make some money. So,
so that character in particular isn't necessarily
not necessarily,
Tom Nelson
but sort of, kind of,
like a hybrid of different individuals who kind of witnessed and were there.
I don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything.
Yeah,
a lot of people are still not real happy with that movie.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was like, it's the South, man. Dirty little secrets and stuff.
Yeah,
and it was outrageous. This was before guns in schools, CNN. There was none of that. When this happened, this was nobody had ever heard of anything like it. But he ended up going to school. She dumped him. Denied that anything ever happened. He was emotionally unstable, and he came back and blew her brains out on the tennis court.
Yes. At the country club.
Yeah. So
were you around working at the time when
I was
all this
not,
happened?
but bad news travels fast,
Yes.
right? And
sure
it
the
was
whole
so
town was
shocking.
shocked.
It was just so shocking because he was the golden boy. He was the dude. We all wanted to be this guy, and so talented. And I still keep in touch with him.
So, oh wow!
Yeah.
So okay, I was just gonna relate into
Yeah.
this. he got mad at her. I mean, what made him go off like that?
The thing was that she did not, that he was upset that he got dumped, but he was mostly upset that she was acting like nothing ever happened, and she was like writing him letters and stuff at college. He went to it was in the movie.
Yeah.
He came back and he had the letters and he'd
Yeah.
photocopied them, and at the country club he put them underneath.
That really
It
happened
yeah,
in real
that
life?
really happened.
Oh, wow.
So, just to show that that their relationship was real.
How much
He was-
How much older was she to him?
She was mid-30s and we were 18. So
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was expecting a relationship out of this.
it just crushed him. He had never had a relationship, and like I say, things at home were not great, and he was a victim of some things. And,
Yeah.
So
Kind of
this-
alludes to that in the.
This
Yeah.
was like a fling. Is that what this was
This-
kind of?
for
She
her-
for her,
yeah.
but not for
She-
him.
This was
I
not
see.
unusual for her,
Wow.
and this was his first.
Wow.
And he just, I mean, he shot and killed her right in public when she was playing tennis with her friends. So it was so shocking, I can't tell you. It was just, and I kept that in I thought about that for every day of my life into my 30s.
Why do you think that resonated so deeply with you?
Well, he was our friend, and had such of all of the people in our group, you'd think he was going to be the one that got out and succeeded, when in fact the worst thing imaginable happened to him.
Yeah.
And we knew the family so well. Like, I knew his sisters, and I knew his mom had been my science teacher. It's like, it was just, it's so normalized now, these things.
Yeah.
It was not like that then.
Jarring.
It just had never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very personal and so unusual too.
So then now this happens. He goes to trial and he ends up sentenced, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
How long did he?
He got 20. I think he got 25 years, and he served a good bit of it. And he got out, and he went and found his dad, and that didn't go well. And he
Oh.
got thrown back in
Oh,
prison.
no.
And he's still there today. We still talk.
Oh, because of what happened with his father.
Yeah, he was on his probation. He broke his probation, and it was so scandalous. His dad was a very successful person, and he was just a kid. He got steamrolled.
Yeah.
And once he violated his probation, he
Had to go back.
yeah, and it's weird. Mississippi is interested in the prison system. The prison is called Parchment Prison, and it's on a lot of news shows about corruption and things like that, and it's just not you don't want to go to prison there. But he's a little older than I am, and we still keep in touch. So I'd lost touch with him until I wrote that movie. He
Yeah.
just went away, and we weren't such good friends but after then we
Got closer.
yeah, I
through the
had gotten in
process.
touch with him, and he was a grown ass man. I didn't even know this guy. We were
Yeah.
men then.
How
And-
did you? So it sticks with you. What was the deciding factor to say I'm actually going to put this pen to paper and document what
I
happened?
had a girlfriend in Mississippi that she didn't want to. She knew that she didn't want to live in Mississippi, and she had moved out to California to be a paralegal, and she landed at an entertainment firm, and they did. She called me and she's going like, that story you told me? We do movies like that all day long here. That's what they do here. And she's going like, if you could get that down, you could sell that story. And
Did you believe her at the time?
yeah, I mean, like she didn't play, and she's going like, you can make some money doing it.
Wow.
And she knew I wanted to leave. We
Yeah.
were pretty close. And
I'm impressed with your level of confidence. Like, yeah, I'll do a screenwriting.
you know what? I liked to write, but I didn't know what I was doing. She sent me how to write a TV movie and a book and a script.
Wow.
And she's going like, you can do this. Just write one page about the story. And I did that and sent it. And I had a writing partner, a guy that I had we sang in the church choir together.
Is he the one in the credits with you?
His name is Victor
Okay.
Hawkins, and we're still good friends. And he worked for the public TV place there.
PBS.
Yeah, and I told him because he wasn't in our group, but everybody knew this story.
Yeah.
And he's going like, yeah, that's a movie. So we kind of sat there with a bunch of note cards and laid it out and got some encouragement.
What was the time frame for this that you put this all together?
It took about a year, I guess, to get it all together.
Oh.
It's called a spec script, where you actually write the whole thing. You know, we wrote the whole script, and it looked just like this sample that we had and all that kind of stuff. And sure enough, it sold. So
when you find out it's sold,
it was crazy. It was insane. I mean, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi.
Is it a
Redneck in
phone call? Is it a
Mississippi.
letter? How does that work?
I was talking to a development person, and my ex-girlfriend had befriended her, so we had some talk going around and some encouragement, and we had no idea what we were doing, so we had some good help, and we went out there to watch the movie be made, and there's a William
So you're
Morris
on
agent.
set.
Oh yeah, I mean, we just jumped right in, acting like we knew what we were doing. And
So you see the level of confidence that we're dealing with here?
but we weren't. But we were in our 30s. You know, we weren't kids.
Yeah.
we were grown ass men.
Still, it's intimidating. Like, hey,
And-
you're on
and
set of the movie you wrote.
I think
Go.
that one thing that I've learned is how to listen and how to shut up and learn. And it was a steep learning curve.
So you're just absorbing everything on
Yeah,
set.
and we were kind of like the new guy in town, and you know, we had stories to tell.
Is the director constantly checking in with you? Like, is this accurate? Is this how it went? Or
Kind of, yeah. That we were very involved in the making of it.
so every day you're on set.
We were, yeah, for that.
And you met all
I've
the
done
actors?
somewhere where it wasn't like that, but
Okay.
yeah, Susan Lucci was the vixen.
Susan Lucci.
And
Remember
she
Susan?
was awesome. And I got my mom to come out. They spent the afternoon sitting on a
Oh
sofa
my
just talking with my mom. You know, it was
That's a
like,
surreal moment.
Whose life is this?
What about Patrick Van Horn?
He was he had a thing or two, and they had a bunch of guys audition. She wanted to pick the dude. She wanted to pick the kid.
Oh, okay.
Because there were some pretty racy scenes in there. There was
So,
a
yeah,
lot
she
of
wanted to
body
make sure-
double stuff and all going on in
Okay.
there.
So the chemistry, she wanted to make sure it was
Yeah,
there.
and she
It
picked
felt
him,
real.
and he had one little thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ended up being my neighbor about 10 years later. And I didn't even recognize him.
No
It's
way.
Like, he had to tell me who he was because he was so young when he'd had that part. and
Yeah.
He was not young when I saw him again.
So here's the thing about Patrick Van Horn. I know him because he's in one of my favorite movies called Swingers.
Yeah,
And I think Swingers might have been right after that.
right after.
And I loved. Have you seen Swingers? Viewers, check out
Long time
Swingers.
ago, yeah.
John Favreau wrote and directed it. It's probably Vince Vaughn's breakout movie, and I loved it. And Patrick Van Horn's in there, and that's where I knew him from. And so when I watched the Susan Lucci movie, I mean, like, oh my God, it's
He was a kiddo. I mean, he was
it-
just a kid. He
That's
really
crazy.
was. He was and hanging out with Susan Lucci. You know.
So here's a little side note. Her name's Susan, right?
Yeah.
In the movie I love called Swingers, his name's Sue, S-U-E.
Oh.
A boy named Sue.
Yeah.
His dad loved,
Yeah.
the song, and so
Right.
it all just came together. And I'm like, this is meant to be.
Yeah.
And Tom wrote it. Susan Lucci,
was
Patrick Van Horn.
crazy,
Tom
yeah.
wrote it with his friend. You're on set, and it's working. And so I've often been told that you can't really tell what the movie's gonna be until it's all done and then edited and then played out. Because when you're there in person, it's not quite the feeling because it's film cut, right? It's like chopped up.
Yeah, and like this last one that I was involved with, they shot the script as written, and after they shot the scene, they always had like a play time to do the scene where anybody that had any idea or any thoughts about it, they just went with it and they filmed it. So I went to the premiere recently of this, and I was talking to the actors, and I'm going like, "You excited?" They're going like, "Yeah, we can't wait to see what movie they decided to make."
There's
Because it
three-
was started out as kind of serious, and it turned out being kind of rom-com-y.
Wow.
Because they had fun with it. You know,
Yeah.
they were open enough to just have some fun.
I think
and
that's
take other-
smart.
It is, and the camaraderie of all that is amazing.
What was it labeled as? A drama or?
Yeah,
It was
based
a
on a
drama?
true story.
True story.
So
Yeah,
the title
back
of
then there was on Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night there was a Sunday night movie of the week, Monday
That's
night
right.
2-hour
Yes.
things that were just programming that was movies.
Yeah.
Now,
and-
did you have his permission to do this? Or
No,
you
it was
just
public record.
Okay. So,
Yeah, we went and
Yeah, how's the law work on that?
I
when
mean,
you
and,
write
and
somebody's
was, are you,
story?
was he mad at you for doing that?
No, he loved it because it was very sympathetic to him. He still
see.
talks about that.
And I had told Robert this when we were talking about, but proceeds, did he get any proceeds off of the script?
No, not at all.
So I would think, like you said, some people were upset about this because here's a guy. If we're just the black and white story is that he's taken the life of another person. Now the story is being written sympathetic towards the person who took the life. I'm assuming her family had some reaction, right?
They all grew up to be lawyers,
Oh,
and they weren't happy. So it's not unusual.
yeah.
You know, I don't want somebody making a movie out of my life, but
And
we
a
did
painful
what we
experience.
did, and you know, after that, we started getting work doing that, and I mean, we were pigeonholed, you know,
That was your thing.
buttonholed to do these true stories, and
You know
we
what
made a
kind-
good living off of those things, and
I
met
can
a lot of
imagine.
nice people, and I learned a skill that I didn't have before. Worked for Stephen Cannell. I don't know if you've ever heard of him,
Steve-
but he did all the 21 Jump Street. He
Yes.
made Beretta, all those.
That was
things.
him?
Yeah, he did Renegade.
Okay, so he's
We worked
Renegade.
on Renegade, and he was Renegade.
Lorenzo Lamas.
And that dude's a god. I mean, like, I just sat there and just wrote down everything.
he said.
Yeah, and our first week of work, my partner and I were hired as story editors, and he gave us like a stack of scripts, like 10 of them, and we ended up fixing a lot of his friends' scripts, you know, that they'd written and
Yeah.
to put them on there. But we're gonna like, what do we do? He said, I want you to just type these 10 scripts. It's like, what do you mean, like fix them or do? He's going like, no, type them exactly the way they're written. So it's Friday. We have our, 2 stacks of 10
Yeah.
scripts, and he's going, and we're going like, so what? And he's going like, now you know what it feels like to write a Renegade.
Oh, wow.
It was the smartest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like I tell the kids at school, like I'll write the starter paragraph on their
Yeah.
essay, and I'm going, just write it. Just write it. This is what it feels like. It's not that hard. Okay, it's 5 sentences.
Yeah, it's like training
and
wheels.
you write my words, and you'll see that you can do this yourself.
It's a confidence builder.
Yeah, modeling.
At what
He
point,
modeled for us to be successful.
and hence that's why he was so successful.
Yes,
At what point do you step back and go, I'm a Hollywood writer? Like,
I was freaked out the whole time.
did you ever feel like this could get taken from me at any time? Or did you?
Only all day, every day.
So you're
I've
like,
never
"We're still
worked
here."
harder in my life. We never turned down a job.
Yeah.
Because there was 2 of us. You don't get twice
You
as
and
much
Victor.
money. Yeah. So we had to
Did you
kind
live
of
together? And
we
split the
didn't,
rent?
but we worked every day of the week, and started. I mean, it never stopped. We were so lucky to get to do that. And
See,
you know,
that's what
every
my-
dude that's pumping your gas has a script under their arm.
It's true.
I mean, like
Yeah.
busloads of people show up daily to do that.
yeah.
And we had the opportunity. We were blessed with the opportunity to do it, and we were wise enough to not just,
Sit on it.
yeah.
That's a movie in itself.
And it was a real steep learning curve too, but what a challenge,
Yeah.
and to live that life. And
So here's the thing. You said live that life. And this is where I'm picturing all the backstories and the cocktail parties and the celebrity homes that you went to visit. Would you say it's accurate? Because we all have our impression of what that life might be like. And I'm always picturing these parties, house on the hill, is somebody's house. And for celebrities, like days of the week don't matter. So it doesn't necessarily be Saturday. It could be a Tuesday night.
yeah.
And there's a raging party going on, right?
Yeah, we did a little of that, but we were grunts. We were in the trenches
You're
workers.
just like,
Yeah, I mean, these guys are ball. We would go have meetings at these houses, and the butler would open the door and all that kind
Wow.
of stuff, which was cool. But that didn't get us where we needed to. These dudes that had more money than you can spend
and
were
it's-
giving us work, and I
Yeah.
was just trying to learn from them. Didn't really want to be them.
I see.
But
No P Diddy parties. You know, no.
no P Diddy
He
party.
said it. He had to go
I
there.
had to go there.
But you know,
Yeah.
Mr. Cannell, he lived in Malibu. He had a chauffeur in a limousine. The only time he wrote was in the back seat of the car on the way to work and back home.
That was it.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
dude had it going on, you know.
Yeah,
I
and so
love that,
confident,
man.
just be like,
Yeah.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like you hear about music artists.
Yeah.
Said, hey, let's go in the studio, right? Me personally, I'm thinking, okay, I've got to have my verse, my hook, everything ready to go because this is studio time. They're charging money, and a lot of times you hear about, especially the hip hop artists, they'll go in there with a pad or on their phone, like, you guys, give me the beat, and then in 5 minutes, all right, let's go, and then they're on the mic.
Yeah.
It's just this level of confidence that says I can generate and create when I need to,
Right.
and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think that we were humble. We worked to our capacity. We recognize the fact that we had a unique opportunity that most people don't get. And we
Yeah.
squeezed 10 or 12 years out of that.
I was gonna ask how long.
It was a while. It had its ups and downs,
Yeah.
you know.
What city were you living in for this?
Moved to kind of heart of LA at first. Went out to the beach to Playa del Rey. Bought a house in Thousand Oaks.
Oh, okay.
And
I always
then moved
picture
back to
Studio
Hollywood.
City is what I picture. Writers in
You
Studio
know, that's
City.
where I ended up landing was because that's where you went to meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
That's all that stuff was not like in Hollywood. It's over the hill.
Studio City,
Yeah, and
Burbank.
So all those studios are.
Was
all-
your pressure there? And first thing that goes to my mind is writer's block, you
Yeah.
know, and arguing with your partner on like, no, that's not going to work. We got to do it this way. And it's, excuse me.
I've never had writer's block. We had a lot of ideas, and I think that people like that about us. Like we would go in and share something with somebody, and they go like, I don't think so, but they would give us a job. You know, we had these things that we could go talk to people about our projects, and if they didn't want that, a lot of times we came away with something that we didn't even know anything about when we were showing up. So there was,
That's amazing.
yeah, I think we were real good employees. We always turned our stuff in on time. We listened, didn't argue. We didn't act like we knew everything.
Were you ever contractually obligated to a specific studio or network? that you
No,
would
we
write
had
for?
the William Morris agency was a really big agency, and so they call it packaging. They would send you to the people that were clients of theirs,
Oh, I see.
and try to figure things out so that they could maximize their profits like that. There were some rules like that, but I just loved it. They used to spend a lot more money just on ideas, and we had series ideas and stuff like that, and we would pitch something and write it, and it wouldn't go anywhere, and we'd still get paid and everything. And I had heard that for every one thing that they make, they buy 10 things. They spend money on 10 projects, so 9 of them go away. And
Yeah,
we
'cause
wrote
the
a lot
writers-
of those things, you know, gladly.
It's like, oh, it didn't work. Okay.
Yeah. Oh well. Here's another one.
It reminds me
So-
of I don't know if you remember this one, Jim. Did you ever watch the movie Nacho Libre?
Yeah.
Okay, Nacho Libre. They have their first big fight, right? And they're in the locker room because like, oh man, we lost, and so they think we're not getting paid because we lost. The guy comes in and slaps like hundreds in their hands. Like, wait, what? We still get paid
Yep.
even when you lose? Like, yeah, man, this
It
is the
was
job.
awesome.
And
It really was.
that's crazy. So
what was the movie that you referred to me and we watched where the guy, the Cheetos? What was that movie?
the Cheetos.
Where it was like flavored.
Oh yeah. I can't think of it right now, but it's a Disney produced film where it's the custodian or the maintenance guy at the Cheetos factory came up with the hot Cheetos recipe, and he kind of finagles his way through up to the head guy and says, "Hey, listen, I've got this idea," and luckily enough, they were open to embrace it, and it be history in the making now.
Yeah.
Hot Cheetos is just like a thing.
Well, it's interesting that you said everyone has a story because I remember a good longtime mentor of mine, Les Rose. He would work with Steve Hartman on CBS News. The Hartman, what was his catchphrase? But so I met Steve and Les was a photographer, and they had this gig where they would throw a dart at a map, and wherever it landed, they flew him to that city.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
then they went to the Yellow Pages and just randomly in that city just picked somebody in the Yellow Pages blindfolded, and then they went to their house and they did a story. And they landed 2 times in Visalia and Tulare County.
Really?
Yep, they came back.
Love
over here.
those darts.
But my point though is everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, being exposed to the Hollywood scene, I'm sure you know, numerous celebrities. Anyone stand out in particular? Like this is a gem. This is a great person.
Susan Lucci was like, she treated us like gold and didn't have to. She was so famous, it was scary.
Susan Lucci.
She was
yes.
in that run where she had lost the Emmy like 44
Yes.
times in a row. Or
Yeah.
something. That was right in the middle of that. We made a bunch of stuff with Jack Wagner. He
Yes.
was on Melrose Place in General
Jack
Hospital.
Wagner. He was a singer as well. He had a
Dude,
song, All I Need.
You can't imagine how popular that
Remember that
was.
song?
But he would come and hang out with us. And
Jack
we would, yeah,
Wagner,
we'd go
wow.
out with him and stuff, and we sold some things with him too. So
Yeah.
and he was just an awesome man. Scratch golfer.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, but he could have played pro basketball. He was just
He's
one of those
just
guys.
one of those guys.
And
Renaissance
women,
man.
I mean, just he was with Heather Locklear then.
Oh, my
But we would
God.
go out, you know, to have a drink or something, and it's like you always knew where Jack was because that's where the
That's where
pack
the
was,
crowd
and you
was.
knew if he was going to go like pee or something because the crowd would kind of move. It's like, oh, there they go. You know? So,
That's got to be surreal.
but he was just a regular guy.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember sitting. We were making a movie called Frequent Flyer in Dallas, and we were in a bar up on the. It was one of those that went around the top of the hotel, and we were just sitting there betting on parking people, cars coming in, where they were going to park. You know, with this big TV star.
That's
you
funny.
know, it was awesome, though.
Okay, so here's my story, and it's going to segue into if this ever happened to you. And I don't know if I've told you this story, but I go visit my brother. He's living in, I think it might have been, not Torrance, Tarzana. It's kind of that area, right?
Yeah.
He's living in Tarzana, and his girlfriend at the time then became his wife. She was in the industry. And so she kind of went to these different spots where actors and actresses tend to hang out, celebrities. And so we're at this place called, I believe it's called the Backstage, you know, kind of a hole-in-the-wall bar. And I go in there, and I grew up during that era when John Hughes films came out, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, etc. Weird Science. I was all into that, right? And so we go inside, and I'm sitting there with him and his girlfriend, and I look at the bar and I see Anthony. Oh, why is his name? I'm losing his name right now. The 16 Candles.
Yeah. Oh,
What's his name? The 16 Candles main guy, Breakfast Club. He plays the nerd.
The Johnny B. Good guy?
Yeah, Johnny B. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what is his name? Michael Anthony Hall. Michael Anthony Hall. And at the time, you know, not now obviously, but at the time, that was my guy.
Right.
I loved him, and because you know he's versatile, and he played Johnny B. Good. He had all these things he did, and so there he is at the bar, and I'm excited, and I'm about to do the annoying fan thing. Hey, can I talk? You know, and I look at my brother, and I'm like, and he's like, no, and I'm thinking he's saying no because you know, you just don't bug celebrities. They're eating, they're drinking, leave them alone. And I agreed with that. And I said, oh, okay. And so I look over at him, and he's glaring over at our table, right? Like angry. And I'm like, oh, my God. And then he's glaring at me. And I'm thinking, I must have pissed him off because he must have heard me that I was going to try and approach him, and he's probably wants some privacy. Whatever the reason, I'm heartbroken that one of the guys that I look up to is glaring at me with an extreme annoyance. Only to find out a little bit later that my brother's girlfriend had dated him briefly, and they had just broken up, and it was a bad breakup. Right? And so now Michael Anthony Hall's giving me the stink eye, right? And so I was all broken hearted, like, no, I wanted him to like me, you know?
You don't compliment your brother for having the same girlfriend as he did one time?
No, I was mad at him. I was like, dude, you got Johnny B. Good to hate on. So was there anybody that you really looked up to or thought was a great talented actor that you got to meet in this process?
Not really, but Victor and I were standing outside the Daily Grill one evening, and we were pretty loaded up. And who rolls up but Shaquille O'Neal?
Shaquille O'Neal.
And he's like 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
He's so big you can't believe it.
Yeah.
And Victor was smoking a cigarette, and Shaq goes, "Them things are gonna kill you."
Just randomly.
That was our brush with fame, kind of.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Did he,
It's like,
did he
yes,
throw it
sir.
out? He's like, oh, I got you.
I mean,
Thanks,
yeah,
Shaq.
yes, sir.
Hey, you would think you would be around more people, celebrity people
You know what? It's just the work. You
Yeah.
know, it's like in fact, we would get hired for a job. We wouldn't even see anybody until we finished the script. You know, we had an office.
Yeah.
And at Victor's house, and we worked our asses off too, man. We would write one project in the morning, take a break, and work on another totally different thing in the afternoon. We
Wow.
always had 2 things going. Plus, we wanted to do our own stuff too.
Yeah.
I still have that stuff. I'm still doing it.
So, okay, so this is a more of a technology question. At the time, when I'm not sure on the time frame. Are we talking typewriter here? Are we talking PC?
I wrote my first on a typewriter, and when I saw Victor do email,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
You're like,
He's talking to people like across the country. You know, it's like, what is that?
yeah.
I'm kind of a Luddite.
Well, speaking of what is that,
about that?
viewers, younger viewers, the typewriter was this machine
Yeah.
that had a keyboard on it like a PC does,
Yeah.
but it would go directly onto a piece of paper. Now, like your PC, you could correct things, but you couldn't correct them by just hitting the backspace. You had to get out some physical whiteout, right?
Yeah.
Kind of wipe it down.
Yeah.
Because some of these kids might be like, the typepwiter?
I was a lot more careful typing back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know
The-
what?
the
Is there a
whiteout,
typewriter in here? Because we have a 1970s camera right there.
anyone has one that wants to donate one, it'll be in the.
Yeah,
it'll
my
be in
first
there.
script is called Fourth and Long,
Fourth and long.
and it was
And then the Big Brother came out, the brother word processor. That, I remember my mom had one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was this kind of hybrid, right, with the electric keyboard.
Because it printed it out on paper, I think.
Yeah.
Once you did it.
yeah. The
on the
program you
keyboard.
use now, it almost reads your mind.
Yeah,
It really
it's,
does.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, we have some aspiring writers who might be tuning in today. What, in your opinion, some of the best software that helps assist the script writing process that they might be able to use?
I'd always use Final Draft, and that was the thing. And I've just been getting back into it the last year. And there's this thing called CELTZ, CELTZ or something, that a lady that I'm working on something with, she was using it. It's awesome.
Do you like
So-
it better than Final Draft?
It's about the same, but
Okay.
it's a little more accessible, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. And
Okay.
it's easy to share it with your friends, and you can type on it together. And you can do that with Final Draft too. It's a little bit more sophisticated. But boy, the tools of the trade are it's amazing.
Well, and I have to ask, like, what's your opinion on this AI stuff? Because I mean, nowadays they could just cheat and.
I
Just,
wanted to talk and to Rob about that in school too, because it's a big thing.
Yeah.
My wife, I have a brilliant wife that I met in the entertainment business. She was my boss. I married
We got to hear
ended
that
up
story.
marrying the boss. But you know, she's super. She's Yale, Stanford, smarty pants. She's the brains of the family. Thank goodness. And but she asks AI interesting stuff, and it freaks us out.
Yeah.
You know, like she'll go like, "Can you do a rap by whatever that's
In this
maybe
style."
something from Shakespeare, or and here it is. You know, 10 seconds later, man, it's rapping Shakespeare. So
I mean, they luckily they've come out with some sort of software and filters now for different school districts that they've adopted to kind of pick up on the AI.
yeah,
And the other saving grace right now is that students haven't quite mastered it yet in certain areas where you can just tell, like, hey, this
of
this is
course
not
you can
quite your
tell, but
voice.
but it's such a tool nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't ignore it, right?
Well, to me, it's like social media, right? There are the detractors and critics of it, but if you use it the right way, it's a connector. It's not a.
Absolutely.
And so I feel AI is the same way. You use it in the right context. It's a wonderful tool, but there's also that other side, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what they said about the cell phone and everything else. If you use it the right way.
Hey, there's always two sides.
And then these commercials, we were talking about this. These commercials just make AI with like some of these cell phones with Apple and stuff. They just make the person look lazy, like they can't do
Right.
it, and it does it for you. So why even bother trying?
But if it's there,
Yeah.
I'm tutoring a couple of kids, and it's an issue. They can ask the phone a question, and it'll give you a pretty good high school answer,
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
If,
We had
if
Cliff
you're
Notes.
at a job and as an adult
Yeah.
and you need to know the answer to something, you wouldn't think twice about using it.
No.
And, it's like, what are we teaching them? Job skills, like, where do you draw those lines? And I'm glad I'm not a
that's
part of
great
that
question.
conversation. It's interesting because I struggle with that with him some, you know, because it is a tool. It's a valuable tool, but are you learning when you use it? Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
I'm a fan of it, but I see a lot of people that are going like, this is the end of the world. Teachers are going like, I'm gonna kill somebody.
I think there's comfort in knowing that we've said that a lot in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in 1984, my mom kept me home from school because Nostradamus had predicted in 84 that the world was going to end.
Yeah.
We watched the HBO special. No wonder I grew up with anxiety. I'm like 7 years old, and I'm waiting for 1984. And so that literally the day that he had predicted, we're in the backyard of our house, and we're seeing an open field. This is in London, because in case any telephone poles or anything start to fall, we're in the clear. And we've got food, and we've got water and blankets, and we're waiting.
Yeah.
And the whole day we sat out in that backyard. Right? So whenever I hear, these real, just statements, hey, it's going to end, or this is the end, or I'm like, okay, well, I've been to the end before, and I'm still here.
Right.
So there's been several ones. What'd your mom do for the Aztec calendar? I mean, you guys did do the same thing.
2012, the Y2K. Yeah. No, fortunately, I'd already moved out of the home by then, but she's always, she's had those things.
Your mom's like, mijo, we gotta do it again. Let's go outside.
Let's go. Get the bottled water and the what's the electric, the plug in, you pull it. The generator. Get the generator out.
I was checking you guys out, to see what this was all about. And I said, I don't know why it's one of these things. And I was just picked one randomly.
Yeah.
And it was your mother.
That was my mom.
And
well, shout out to Gloria
dude,
Racing.
You made so much sense after I met your mom. That story about
Don't say it.
School and the food.
That's a script that I'm going to start writing. So I want to be picking your brain. Yeah. Walking the white line.
I mean, I wept on the inside. It made me understand why you're the way that you are, dude, because that's where you got that shit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It comes from somewhere. What we do with a lot of our time.
Absolutely.
And that was the most moving story I've heard in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And the way you told it, too, was great. But, oh, my God. And it was just so real.
Yeah.
It's what we see all the time, those things that fall through the cracks like that. And
We
the
get
kids are
teared
the
up.
victims of it.
Yes.
And they carry that shit with them forever.
I kind of have this thing that I've been sharing recently with my students because I'm at the high school level. 7th, 8th grade, they still have got some time in that home. And for some kids, it's kind of an eye-opener. I said, hey, listen, if things are tough at home, have solace in the idea or the possibility that 4 years from now, you're going to be an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sum up the courage and you're willing to sacrifice a little bit, you can legally create your own environment, right? And so sometimes that's kind of the eye-opener for some of my students to say, hey, I need to start working hard because if I don't like the reality in my life, I can start to redefine it.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're born into a situation and you've kind of got to tolerate it until you can fend for yourself.
Yeah, my first teaching job in Hollywood was at a placement school it was an all-girls school, and it was kids that were in trouble. It was when they were coming out of juvie, or like if their mom and dad had got popped for drugs or something.
Yeah.
But they lived in the facility, and we
Oh,
taught
okay.
them. And it was
Like a group
9
home?
through 9 through 12.
Do you remember what it was called?
Yeah, Viva Family Services.
Viva Family Service.
AVIVA.
That still exists, do you think?
The school doesn't, but the service does.
Oh, okay.
And that changed my life. getting to know those kids so well. And, you know, a kid that I taught that was 15 then is now 35 years old. And I keep in touch. We keep in touch with a lot of these kids.
See, that's amazing.
And some of them were the worst kids, and they're the most amazing adults you can imagine, you know.
Yeah.
And it was because of people like you that tell them
And you.
Well, I don't want to say
And him.
that, but you know, modeling. They found
Yeah.
those models in that building. There were a lot of them in there, and boy, some of these I can't believe the miracles that have these young women's lives have become. You know, they've got kids now old enough to be our students again, right? which is freaky.
Full circle.
Yeah, but don't discount them. You know.
Yeah, don't count them out.
I took I'm writing a script now about it. It's called Homeroom 6. We were called Homeroom 6, and my partner and I were given the 12 lowest kids, and we had them all day long instead of switching classes. And we were going like, what are we going to do with them? And we decided to take them volunteering every morning. And we took them dog walking. We took them, there's a place called Project Angel Food that does 2,000 meals a day for homebound sick people. And but we took them volunteering, and our worst kids were our best volunteers.
Wow.
That was such an eye-opener. Like at Project Angel Food, the kids just took that place over, cooking and doing all the stuff. Like oars, like you mix stuff in vats of, you know, and these kids were so good at that. And they went back to school, and they're wreck, they're failure.
Yeah.
But they had skills.
So yeah, okay. So now that you say that, there's this ERWC, right? The writers workshop that we went to. There's this one article that the 12th graders read. Jim, I don't know if you've read this article, but it's the summary of it is that not everyone is, you know, designed to learn in a classroom setting, and so they use Alexander the Great as an example, and they said, and they described this student, right, with all these different struggles and things that do not work in a classroom, and then they reveal that is basically who Alexander the Great would have been in a classroom setting. And yet he was able to accomplish all the things he did outside of the classroom because he has different skills.
Right.
And so the idea being that there's a lot of students who have skills that we don't get to see and they don't get to really discover in the classroom setting, that when we take them out like you did, right, they shine. Mm-hmm. They love the physicality of it all. They love the heart behind service.
Yeah.
And so to me, one of the movements that I'd like to see, and I don't know, Jim, if your school has this, but a more organized and intentional community service aspect, right, that's required to graduate. Mm-hmm. We have some schools like they say, you got to get a certain amount of community service hours. But you had structured it. You had found a place. You were taking them over there. It was set up.
Yeah.
Right now, it's kind of left the chance. Like, I hope you find something, you know?
Yeah, and then in the afternoon, we'd use the experience to teach the lesson. Like the math lesson was about fractions, and we did the recipe at the thing, and they hate fractions until you explain to them that they already use them all the time. This is just what it is.
Yeah, demystify it, right?
Absolutely. And it was just a glorious awakening for us as men.
Yeah.
You know, two guys with all these girls that we didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all these issues, and they're all fighting with each other. I mean, if we didn't have a restraint during the week, it was a slow week. Seriously. You know, we got called from our homes to come over to the house to like come restrain the kids.
Wow.
So that they could take them back to juvie and stuff. And then, I mean, but we do that, and then we teach them math 15 minutes later. You know, you just had this kid pinned on the floor.
You know what? That was hard for me because I worked at a group home.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to transition because, like you said, these students, they're kind of used to a certain interaction or lifestyle that requires you to transition very quickly, right? And I remember having to restrain someone and then worry that they're going to be mad at me the next day.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem, right?
Didn't happen. I remember walking in nervously because I had to restrain this student, and we had a pinball, not pinball, what's ping pong table, and I'm walking in, and I see him, and I'm taking the deep breath. He's like, "Hey, Rob," and I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Yeah. Do you want to play? And I'm reading his eyes. You know, you're reading the eyes for sincerity, and he's forgotten yesterday.
Yeah.
I still have, you know, the rug burns from getting dragged all over the floor from, you know, that angry moment.
Yeah.
But it taught me something, and that made me a better instructor. It's this idea that a lot of things that people direct at us, especially our youth, is not about us, and we don't need to personalize it.
At all.
Yeah. And that took time for me to understand. I was a very sensitive individual, and I was, Tom, can you believe what he called me? He was, you know, and to get past that is what I had to do to evolve and become a better person. And I'm assuming in a group home setting, you were called everything under the sun, and you had to restrain people, and the next day was the next day.
Changed my life. So I don't have kids.
Yeah.
You know, and never wanted them. And, you know, these weren't children.
Yeah.
They're very savvy kids. You know, they've seen everything. And they're generally in a good bit of trouble and misunderstood and never really given a proper opportunity to shine, you know. And I enjoyed that, taking them out. And they would jump through hoops to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
They'd behave. We did a hike up. The school was at the base of the Hollywood Hills, and Runyon Canyon was right there. And every Wednesday, if everybody had kept their noses clean for the whole week, we took them hiking up that hill after school. And, man, they stayed on each other the whole week.
Like, hey.
Because if somebody fell off the boat, we weren't hiking,
Yeah.
you know. And they pulled together so hard for the privilege of an hour hike.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know, you know, but that was
Everything
very
to them.
important to them. And we learned quickly about, you know, the role of positive enforcement, forgiveness,
Yeah.
not judging.
Yeah.
You know, they get a pass, and somebody would come and pick them up, and you'd go like, oh, okay. You know, you see maybe how this happened.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
When you meet the
it's
parents.
just not fair to them to judge them when you don't know all these things about them.
Absolutely.
You know?
And
Especially the young ladies, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, bad things happened. And I was there 13 years, and
13 years.
Yeah, on the second year, we had a student pass and was killed in a drive-by. And we had the bright idea of, there's a garden, and we planted a little tree for the kid, you know, and put a little plaque there. And by the time I was gone, there was no room to plant anything else.
Oh, man.
You know, I think we buried 7 or 8 of the kids. Yeah.
That is-
One girl went to the dentist because we did all the medical stuff for him and everything. It
Yeah.
didn't come back. You know, I mean, just that kind of, you know, it's a hard life.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
and the violence is so random.
And
fast.
in our careers, we get attached, and you know, and then have to help them go through those processes, and you know, trying to become the next level of adulthood and make the decisions. And then when these things happen to them, it's brutal.
Yeah.
You know.
Such a young age.
Yeah, and I wasn't the most mature person in the world when I worked there. I like to party. And
How
it was in
old were you at this
Hollywood.
time?
I started in the classroom when I was 43 or 44, so I was old. But I like to have a good time. And that's a good place to have a good time. And that school, we rocked it. We were all very close.
Was this pre-Leslie days or?
She was, I had already known her in the entertainment business. And we kind of came and went with the entertainment business. And she is an animal advocate. And she had come to our school with a bunch of dogs for the kids to train. So,
Oh, okay.
talk about a small world.
Yeah.
But
And
we
you were
had-
like, aren't you
No,
my?
I mean, we had kept in good touch.
Oh, okay.
And all, but she knew me she got to know me as a teacher. And then she decided that's pretty cool. And guess what she ended up being? A
Teacher.
teacher. Yeah. She taught in the hood, man.
Wow.
Yeah, for quite a while. And Who knew?
What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, but we keep up with so many of those kids. That's our family.
Yeah.
Are those, and they're adults now, and we're getting to know their kids, and it's freaky.
That's awesome.
I mean, it really is, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is to see these young ladies to grow into, and the boys from Hanford.
Yeah.
You know, I just made some really strong, especially with our MJ project, some real strong attachments with those kids, and their windows of opportunity aren't real wide, you know.
Yeah.
and
Thankfully, they have
I
you
just-
there
I
for
just-
that.
I love them. I couldn't love them anymore if they were my own, you know.
So, speaking of the MJ project, you become an educator. At what point do you decide that you want to start a nonprofit?
My mom had passed right when we had moved to Corscold.
What was her full name?
Mary Jane, that's MJ.
MJ, Mary Jane.
Yep, and wanted to do something for her. And my wife and I had always given away a lot of stuff to the kids and all.
Yeah.
And because we don't have kids of our own, we had some resources. You know, we always worked and everything. And we had always been generous like that. And we just kind of wanted to formalize it a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're both big readers. And the Learn for Life didn't have a library in the school. So
Yeah.
in my little tutor room, I put a 200 book, high interest little library.
Is this before we met?
This is right when
Right,
we
we
met. Yeah, and
What
like,
perfect timing,
And the
huh?
kids were like stealing all the shit and everything. It's like, this is awesome. And the teachers were going like, hey, where can I get one of those? It's like, you can get it from me. So we kind of put it all together to
So
do
I
the
wanna,
nonprofit thing.
For our viewers, for Jim, I want to give my best version of what it is you were doing, and then you feel free to correct me. What I witnessed and what happened for our London residents is that you would create these home libraries, these personal home libraries. You would ask a student, hey, what are your interests? And they'd fill out this form with the different types of books and specific titles. And then he would show up with a bookshelf and all of those titles for this student to set up in their home. And this was especially for communities or individuals who didn't have access to a public library or were not likely to visit that. They would have that in their home and access to it. And there were studies behind it that showed that if you had a library in your home, that your academic success rate goes up. Is that correct?
Yeah, our first recipient was Monse Hernandez that you turned me on to. And we still keep in touch with her.
From London?
She's killed it, man.
Wait, she was your first
She was our first personal library.
Wow, I didn't know that.
We were doing like the classroom thing.
Yeah.
And then then the guy that was making our bookcases was going like, I can make a smaller one if you want it. And we've ended up making those into desktop libraries for teachers. You know, to where they're, instead of yelling at the kid, they have these books on their desk and they go like, hey, have you seen the new Kobe book or whatever?
Yeah.
But Monse and Liliana, I forgot Garcia, I think.
Yeah.
But you
There's
gave me
old
two
emails.
names,
Yeah.
and of those two girls, and Monse was our very first one, and
Wow.
she's become our dear friend. And she's a grown-ass, adult, successful woman.
Wow.
Okay,
Is she
now.
still in, where's she at now?
Oh, I don't know, but we went to her a few years
That's
ago.
amazing.
Yeah.
The follow-up and the
Right.
relationship.
But we keep in touch with these. I mean,
Yeah.
my thing with all the libraries is that give the books away. If the kid steals it, that's cool. We'll always replace it. You know, that we continue to serve those libraries that we put out there. So
It's a beautiful thing.
it is, right?
Yes.
And no judging on the books. You know, no 50 Shades of Gray or anything. We draw some lines, but you know, the graphic novels and all that
Yeah.
that schools just don't have.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was a kid, I could go to the library. There's a million books. I couldn't find one I wanted to read. But we let them generally pick it out for themselves. And the teachers, you know, get the kids to pick out the classroom library instead of telling them what they're supposed to like. And just let the kids have pride of ownership.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're invested. And,
High interest.
and if you like the book, you can keep it. Because you're right. Books in the home, magic.
Yeah.
I always wonder, you know, like a kid takes a book away, where does that book go? You know, somebody's going to pick that book at the house or
Yeah.
something like that. It's not just about the kid.
The sibling.
And the kid's modeling for the younger kids in the house. And
Yeah.
it's very powerful, the ripple effect of
No.
one small gift like that. You know, a $10 book can
can change lives.
It does. I've been talking to the kid that I tutor about, just his having a good day at school makes the day of his teacher, of his mom. Everything changes at the house, instead of just coming home and being an asshole about, oh, but the positivity, the effect of that positivity is just it can't be measured.
It can't be
can't.
purchased.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, let me have you move your mic.
Yeah, and the book thing too. I didn't have books in our. The first time Leslie, I took her to visit my parents, and she's going like, "Where's the books?" And I'm going, "They're not here. We didn't have them in our home.
Really?
It just wasn't what we did."
And then you become a writer, a creator of books.
I don't know how that happened. I'm pretty sure the postman might be my dad. I'm glad there wasn't DNA back then. But it's just, it's in the power of reading and sharing it with other people and passing the book along. That Kobe book is amazing. And we do a lot of programs with basketball teams.
Hanford West,
Absolutely.
Huskies.
And, sit them in the stands. We read to them. Do you know Mel Parker?
Mel Parker, the Hanford West basketball coach,
yeah.
former basketball coach.
Yeah, he's my bestie. And we do a lot of stuff like that together. And we put his kids up in the stands and read to them.
I saw those pictures on social media.
Until they started reading themselves out loud. And he has in the locker room a sign-up sheet, and you can get any book you want. And, it was blank for weeks, and then somebody put something on there, and then there was 20 of them all of a sudden. It
was that this last year?
We've been doing this for a long.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And
how did you meet Mel?
Teaching.
Okay.
Learn for Life.
That's right.
Yeah, he coached over there, and he taught at Learn for Life. That man's a god. I mean,
I've got to meet him.
I've learned so much from him. Just
him
especially during
work.
COVID, we rode around a lot. We turned my car into a rolling library, and he brought the burritos, and I got the Popeye's chicken sandwiches, and we hit the road every day and gave away a lot of books. And
that is amazing.
just open the car up and let the kids take whatever they wanted. We had basketballs back there and
everything. Huh?
Yeah, and it was.
Was that throughout Kings County, or where were you going with them?
We were serving our students because he had like a caseload, and and nobody was going to school, so the kids were just. I mean, they were screwed.
This was COVID.
Yeah,
2020.
Mm-hmm. That's when we.
That was a
got
different
close.
time.
Yeah, but we took one of his teams down to Santa Monica to the pier. Played on the the world famous courts where all the ballers are. We waited in line and played some ball with the ballers down there and skateboarded and did all the stuff. And I saw one of the kids that a couple weeks ago. He's still talking about that trip. Yeah, he's a man now.
No, but it's
a very tall man.
Yeah. Okay. You never get used to that, and you get these loud, deep voices. Mr. I. Yes. Am I in trouble? No. Don't you remember me? I'm like, well, you didn't have 3 children and a huge mustache, but yeah, I think it's Johnny.
But Mel's one of those guys that he just has the magic touch. No judgment. He just, kids worship him. He gives them so much respect and brings out the best in them. And it's just, I learn from him every time I'm with him. Just, we carry groceries around with us, and stopped at a kid's house, and I'm going like, asked the boy, I said, hey, do you guys need some groceries? And he's going like, what do you mean need groceries? We don't need anything. And Mel's going like, just ask them if they want it next time. I'm going like, hey, you guys want some groceries? Clean the car out. One word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Somebody had to show me that.
No, that's a good one.
So and you're like that, dude. I'm sorry, but that's the day I met you, I knew that about you. And hearing your mom tell that story, it's like that's in your DNA. The giving part of that, selflessness.
She's still giving, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That comes from somewhere, right? My mom was like that.
Okay.
And my dad was not. He was a hard ass and watched every penny. And and it worked out for us. But that's just the way he was.
Yeah.
And
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because Jim's mother recently passed, and so I learned a lot about her, right, through the stories. And one of the stories was that she would buy things for the church, right, and not tell the dad because the dad's like, "Hey, we're trying to stay on a budget." And I'm looking over at the church during her service, and there's this beautiful organ. It's got a cover over it like this, and I look at it, you know, it's great condition. And Jim's like, "My mom bought that." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, she just went one day and came home and said, "Hey, I bought a organ for the church." And Dad's flipping, "What are you doing?" So just that giving spirit,
yeah.
And
Do you wanna tell-
she's the pianist.
Do you want to
she would
share
play.
that quick story about your mom or not? Does everybody know that story?
You're talking about when she was feeding the kids and
When she went to the school and then she figured out that the kids that had their lunch were over here, and
Yeah.
the kids that didn't have their lunch had to walk
the white line, yeah.
And
So
she-
that story actually is the one that I'm building towards something. At some point, I'm gonna come to you and say, "Hey, I need to turn this into a script."
Well, I probably need to tell you that I've already stolen it. That was worse stealing. Yeah, so we'll talk
yeah.
about that later.
Yeah, no,
But-
because that
but
story needs to be told.
When I heard that, I said to myself, "That's something Rob would do."
Really, wow.
You know it is.
You know the part about that story that when she first told me just really choked me up. And Jim, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but it was basically she went to a new school, and at this school they had they didn't have a lunch program. So if you had food from home or you had the means, you ate on this side, and to keep the kids from begging, they would have them walk the white lines on the black top to keep them from begging and bugging the other kids, quote unquote bugging. And so the part that really hit me was my mom spoke about this one little boy. He was kind of a heavy set, kind of jolly, comical type, right? And he would do these silly antics to make the kids laugh, and they would throw food at him, right? And he happened to be Mexican. And my mom, being a fellow Mexican, felt like she had to go address this. And she's like, "Hey, you're making a fool of yourself, and you're making us all look bad by doing this whole clown act." Right? This is before she figured out what was happening. And he goes, and he looked her dead in the eyes. He was like, "Are you going to feed me?" And she had no response. And that was the turning point for her to say, "I need to be a part of the solution." And that's when she slowly started to come up with her bartering, where she would bring burritos from home because she had the means to do so. And she would take them to the kids who had sandwiches, and they didn't get burritos at home, right? And so they would just switch. And the exchange rate, I think, was like one burrito was 3 sandwiches. And so the exchange happened, and she would take the sandwiches, cut them in 4s, and start bringing kids off the line.
And she walked the line.
And I remember the story. Weren't they mad at her? Didn't they? Did they get mad at her or tell her to stop?
Yeah, I mean, there was, because racism, it's a thing. It's always been around. And so there were certain teachers who were like, this little Mexican girl, she's messing up the system, and she's getting kids off the line, and she's creating problems. But then there was other teachers that she spoke of that would, discreetly help. And she told me one time she's leaving class, and the teachers, they had this really rough exterior. And so the way they would tell her is like, "Hey, stupid, you dropped your 20. Pick up the money." And my mom would be like, "Yeah, put the money in your pocket and be careful next time." That was there. And at first she's like, "Wait, am I in trouble? Am I stealing? What's happening here?" And then, she starts to read through it. Again, I think she was like 2nd, 3rd grade. So it wasn't like she had all the wherewithal to read, the underneath. But she started to figure out real quick that this was their way of helping. Mm-hmm. And that she would find money in her coat. You know how you keep the coat in the cubby hole in the classroom? All these different places she starts finding money. And it's these teachers who, can't outwardly say, "We want to help the kids." And so they found their own way. It's a very heartfelt story. And I told her, "Mom, that's a movie. We got to put that, create that into something." And so I kind of started something. I'll show it to you, and you show me what you've started. And, we want to share these types of stories. That's one of my goals, is at some point to get those stories out there, because there is a place for, like the one story that you had written about the golden boy who came from the home. There's a place for that, and there's also room for these types of stories, where you're getting someone inspired by the act of kindness. And I think kindness is kind of a thing that we really need to revive in our society.
Yeah, that's our first T-shirt that we.
Oh yeah,
said,
I wear
"Be
that.
kind"
I had
on
a
it.
sweater or a shirt that I still have. It says "Be kind," and that was from you.
I was gonna wear it
That's a great
tonight,
message.
and it didn't pass the wife
Oh, she's-
sniff test. She's going like, "You're not gonna wear that."
Wait, was there moth holes in it, or
It wasn't looking great, but it's. I thought I looked.
you know what I
great.
picture?
Uh,
You know when the collars like just wrinkled from like overuse.
Yeah,
Is
it was
is that
not
what it was?
my best look, and so that's why she's the brains of the operation.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So okay, so we got the NJ project, and now that expanded beyond books, correct?
Yeah, we've done some scholarships. We were giving away like community college scholarships and stuff to, the profile of kid that I was teaching in Hanford, and it wasn't going well. The kids weren't making it, and we started giving away trade school scholarships, and every one of those just rang the bell. The kids in 6 months were making more than I was. They go to
Wow.
plumber school, and then they're going like,
That is a
what do you
great
make? And I'm
idea.
going like, mind your own business,
So there's
but
like what 6 month to 18-month type.
it depends on what it is, and it's not a lot of money. We give them like $1,000, to get them going
Yeah.
and keep track of them and see what they needed along the way. But that seemed more realistic for my profile kiddo
Yeah.
is trade school stuff.
And then a lot of students really respond to hands-on,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, and they want to work. They want to get to work.
Yeah.
In school, I think that at our school we were really hands on, and to get them graduated. And once they went out into higher learning, it was really difficult. It wasn't a fair, test of their skills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To send them out into the world of a college campus, and with independence and all that kind of stuff, and not somebody every day going, "Did you do this?" And
Yeah.
yeah. So
This is my
learned a
theory.
lesson on that.
And you kind of touched up on this. So if you come from where there's a lack of resources, right? And that means that kindergarten through 12th grade, all that time is the financial stress and struggle, and you kind of feel out of control because you really can't work full time until you're done with all of that,
Right.
right? And so to prolong that, because college, you're full time, you don't have time to work if you're doing it full time, right? And so now for some people, going to college is prolonging that lack of resources.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a payoff there, and for some of them, it's like, hey, listen, I've been wanting to eat name brand cereal for 12 years now, and finally I have an option and time to get the full time work. How can I get that first paycheck as soon as possible? And that's
Yep.
a trade school. And so I understand that. I remember when I first made some decent money, that was with my brother. He had a mortgage company, and it was the first time I had made a substantial amount in a month. And I remember buying a lot of these things that I wanted as a child, right? And everybody was like, well, why do you have 12 pairs of shoes right now? So because I've never had
Right.
more than one or two pair.
Yeah.
It was like these little things you were doing to play catch up. And I mean, there's that side of it, but then, there's that lack of financial literacy as well, because you've never had the resources. And so now that you've been starving for so long, you're trying to catch up all in one day. Whereas if I've had some means and lived a somewhat fairly stress-free life, I can prolong it a few more years for college,
Right.
and not get overly excited when I do get resources. Maybe invest and not go, hey, I need 12 pairs of Jordans ASAP. That's the kind of purchases I made.
Yep.
What did you do with your first big check? You wrote.
Got a Mazda Miata.
Oh, there you are. The Mazda Miata.
With the
What color did you get?
convertible, the Dodger Blue.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you were styling, right? You were like,
Oh man,
I made it. I made it.
It's just like somebody kill me now. Can't
It's
get
over.
I'm peaking.
How long
This
did you
is
keep it?
I just ran that thing right into the ground.
Oh, did
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Mine was shoes.
Yeah.
When you first started making a decent paycheck, what was your first like luxury purchase?
Clothes. I mean, just the things that
The name brand clothes?
Yeah. I think, but not. I mean, remember our Guess stories and
you had the
Family
Guess.
Bargain Center and the Kmart. Yeah, I had all that growing up. I didn't.
So
I
you
know
bought the
it.
Guess jeans with the triangle on the pocket.
Yeah, I had the real stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad. I always wanted a bottle of cologne. My dad's going like, no. So I stole my first bottle of cologne.
You did.
Yeah,
What
it's
was
like
it?
dumb-
Brute
from the
33?
drugstore. I think it. I don't
Soap
know.
on a
I
rope?
think it was I think
Brute.
it maybe was
I
Brute.
was just
The
joking.
green, yeah.
Brute
Yeah.
33, the green one.
Yeah.
My dad had Pierre Cardin.
Oh,
Pierre,
wow.
Pierre Cardin.
And would you take little dabs? And
Yep.
you had to do
Yeah.
the touch here and touch there.
I remember
Wow.
buying, like there was some things that my dad wouldn't buy, but then I had the money, right? You had the
Yeah.
money, so I had in my house, in my room, the first ceiling fan.
Oh.
I went out and bought a ceiling fan because we had all these box fans and stuff. We didn't have AC.
Installed it. And
And my dad and I installed it. But then once he saw what I had, he was
Yeah.
like, "Well, screw this." He put one in his bedroom and the living room and everyone. So
we had a weird relationship with wealth because we lived in London, right? And London, most of us were struggling. However, my mom finally scored a job as a registered nurse, and now she's making decent money, but we're still living in London.
Right.
And so we were like the Beverly Hills of London, I guess, if that makes sense. And so I remember when she first started making some real money, she bought water beds for each room.
Ooh.
So we had remember the water beds?
Oh, yeah.
We popped them, of course,
yeah.
after a couple of months. But I remember having this dichotomy of like, okay, I'm maybe lower middle class at school, but in London, man,
I got a water bed.
I had the first VCR. You know what I mean? I was like, and so it's like, it's just different areas. So now you're in Morro Bay,
Yes, sir.
retired, semi-retired.
We call it rewired at my
Rewired.
house.
I like that.
And
Define
I
rewired.
don't have a conventional job any longer.
Yeah.
I still want to work.
that's a T-shirt.
I'm a workaholic.
Rewired.
Dude.
Rewired.
I just don't. I enjoy working,
yeah.
and I don't do anything I don't really want to do. So
You
it's
get to
usually
choose.
joyful work, and I'm enjoying writing again. Just had a movie thing come out. And
What was the movie called?
It's called "We're Not Married" with a question mark.
Oh, okay.
And
That sounds like a Tyler Perry
yeah,
kind of.
and I got one out called Robin's Hood now. That the lady that made
Robin's Hood.
that made
Was that a
the-
book first?
Yeah, I wrote that book actually.
You gave me a copy of
Yeah.
Robin's. That's why I know Robin's Hood. Tom Nels.
That's
Guys, check out
that-
Robin's Hood.
It
You know,
will not die.
we're gonna put all these links.
And I got the thing homeroom 6 about the teaching at the girls' school.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'd like to see what happens with.
Is that book or is that a script?
It's a script, and
Well, we didn't really
it's
say the
kind of my
name.
favorite thing
Is
that
it?
I've ever done. So
Wow, that's saying a lot because you created a lot.
yeah,
What was the original one? We never said the name of the original one where the country club
Between
murder?
Love and Hate.
Between Love and Hate.
There's
I
been
was
other
looking-
things
yeah.
called Between Love and Hate too, but if you say Between Love and Hate, Susan Lucci,
Yeah.
you'll see it.
You know what I
like-
thought of when what popped up for me when I was looking? A thin line between love
Yeah.
and hate
Yeah.
popped up. Was that before? That was after you guys.
It
right?
was all during that because that inspired us, actually. Victor was a disc jockey.
Oh,
And we
okay.
listen to music all the time.
A
And he's
thin-
going
other
like,
song.
that might be the title.
Yeah.
We didn't have a title for a long, long time.
No, I like that one.
Yeah.
What was the working title when you were on set? And
I don't know. I mean, we had a title when we sold it.
I'm always fascinated, because
Titles sell, man.
They
you know,
do.
you
They
need
do.
you need a title for your story. That's
Walking the White Line.
yeah.
That sounds like Johnny Cash, right? Or the other white line, right? It might
Yeah.
sound like a drug movie.
Now, when you talked to the other gentleman that was in the lead person in the movie. Did he ever end up watching it and see it?
Yeah.
And what did he think?
That was awesome.
Oh, he loved it?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was very sympathetic to the cause. It really was. It was kind of like, beware. Actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Pick who you do these things
It's almost
with.
like a PSA.
Yeah, I mean, like, for reals. He was not a well young man, and it didn't show. He presented as the best of the best, and it was all underneath there,
Wow.
just waiting to
Come out.
waiting to explode. Yeah. So glad we still keep in touch. It's interesting watching us both get old. He's been incarcerated that whole time,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just it's a sad thing. But I'm glad we still keep in touch.
Well, here's a unique experience that you have that I have. I don't know, Jim, if you have this, but childhood friends who end up incarcerated over a long period of time, the conversations and interactions are different than when you were kids, because when we're kids, we're both in the free world having bunk beds and movies and whatever, right? And then they end up in jail for a long period of time, and now the conversations are different, and they're asking you about some everyday things that you take for granted. It's like, hey, have you? I remember I had a friend that I went to pick up from jail, and he's from London, and he did about 15 years. I went to go pick him up in Tracy. I took the day off from work, went to pick him up, and we're driving home, and he's like, hey, can we stop at Carl's Jr.? I was like, yeah. Is any particular? He goes, I've been watching this Carl's Jr. commercial for the last 5 years, and I want to try a double Western cheeseburger. Right? And I was like, oh, okay. And the way he ate it made me feel like, man, I need to truly go back to enjoy the little things. Because he did, the bite with the head nod.
Yeah.
And the eyes half closed.
Yeah.
Like the commercial.
Commercial.
And I'm like, are you filming a commercial right now? He goes, no, you don't understand. Because, the food is different, obviously. And so, it's
I get it, man.
it's different because you've had this friend that you've been through everyday life with for so long. And now he's enjoying a Western cheeseburger for the first time in 15 years. And you're like, man, how different our lives are now.
Everything's foreign.
Yeah.
Everything's foreign. And,
Yeah.
and then you have your questions as well, right? Did you get in any fights? Is it as dangerous as the movie show?
Jelly or syrup, whatever.
Well, he told me, he said that a lot of times they'll sit around the rec room where the TV is, and they'll laugh at the jail movies because a lot of them get it so wrong, right? In the jail movies, someone's getting shanked every 2 minutes, and they're all in there like, oh, look at these guys. They think, it
They just want a
happens.
Carl's burger, yeah.
It happens, and each place is different, but it's not as often as you imagine in certain cases.
I have an affinity for the incarcerated, like our kids that get in trouble.
Yeah.
Try to keep in touch with them, write them. I got a friend in jail right now.
Do you ever go visit in person?
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah, I
haven't
know the
been.
Hanford jail pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I haven't been to jail to
They
visit.
know me.
Hey guys, Tom's here.
Yeah, they don't shake me down as much as they used to.
That's a testament to your dedication to these
I've
students.
just always been fascinated with because I could have been I've driven impaired hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And I've met people
It's a
that
bold
have done
statement
it
to
like
make, yeah.
have done it like twice, and once one of those times they killed somebody.
Yeah.
But
We
for the grace
recently-
of God, my ass could be in jail forever.
Yeah.
I mean, just from I'm reckless. I can be reckless. I can still use poor judgment, and that thing has just never happened to me. And
Last week
Why?
we lost some. Yeah.
why? I don't know. I've been to a lot of kid funerals that it was just stupid shit that we've all done.
Yeah.
But we didn't have guns back then. We would punch each other in the face or something, or
Live to see another day.
yes. And at that school, we ran out of places to put the trees, and these are teenage girls.
So you have a wealth of experience with our youth at the group home, the incarcerated, those that you've introduced literature, etc. What would you say to someone who may be dabbling or leaning towards a job in education or working with the youth, what would be your best advice to them?
Give it a try. Don't be afraid of it. I've gotten so much more from it than I've given.
Yes.
But it's not for sissies either. You know, with these kids,
Not for
they
the faint of
need.
heart.
Yeah, I've been talking to some people about maybe a mentor program or something,
Yeah.
especially for our young men. You know, just men from the community that might have a dinner once a month with a kid or something, or
Like the Big Brothers program, sort of.
yeah. But it's not something that I think you can do halfway if you're really serious about that profile of student, and that's the student that I'm attracted to. Nobody needs my help getting to Harvard. You know,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be that much help anyway.
Yeah.
But I can teach them math and graduate them and try to show them how to be a good dude. You know, I really enjoy that. It makes me a better man.
Yes.
Makes me accountable, right? Otherwise, I'm not that good of a guy. I mean, like when I'm
Yeah.
all about me, I'm not a good guy. When I'm out being of service to my community, I'm a great guy. And it's just how when you wake up, what are you thinking about? Who you hanging out with? Who you talking to at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
You know, I'd like talking to Mel. Mel's out there doing something great every day. He inspires me. You inspire me. Seriously. That library, dude, man, that thing's going to be there after all of us are dead, you know. Who knows the power of that?
Well,
You know,
thank
we can't measure that. But that's why we're friends. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I know. That's what we have in common. I don't even know you, but I know that about you.
And that's
and
enough, huh?
That's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. My wife's like that. You know, that's just how we've chosen to grow old too. You know, we're not sad that we don't have kids or anything. We have hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just as dear as I see my friends with, you know, with their biological kids. It's no different. You know, the feelings aren't any different. I would kill and die for some of these kids, you know.
Yeah.
And they know that, so
They
that's
can
pretty
feel it.
cool, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The world needs more.
Yeah,
Tom
but I think that,
Nelsons.
well, no, you. I mean, what are you going to do with your life? You know, are you going to be of service, or are you just going to make some money and drive a cool car?
Yeah.
Mel does both.
Do you have a Miata?
Mel's got a baller Lexus that, like, it's never had a speck of anything on it.
Wow.
Yeah, riding around with that dude is just amazing.
Can we get him in here?
Yeah,
We need a really close friend to help us.
probably. Yeah. Tell
You
him
see
you
what
want to
we're
start
working here?
Tell him you want to start a mentor program. He'll get his ass over here
He'll be in here.
fast. Yeah, but you know he's a special guy, and I learned from people like you guys that you know, and a lot of it has to do with not being the guy. It is with being in the background and listening, and what are people really saying? What do they really need? You know, it might not be something that you have. You might have to go get it instead of what you're trying to give them. You know?
Yeah.
But it's just I've learned to listen the older I get.
You know, I wish I had that conversation with you before I started the library, because as successful as I think that was, one of the mistakes that I think I made, and I had some nonprofit people pull me aside and you know, impart this wisdom. And they said, you know, the next time you want to take on a project and help a community, one of the greatest things you can do is go into that community, hold like a town hall meeting, and ask them what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I wasn't listening at the time. I was just like, oh, this place needs a library. I didn't ask anyone in town if they even wanted that. They might have needed something else, but I was fortunate enough that the stars aligned.
Right.
But the second go around, I'm definitely going to sit down and be like, what do you guys need?
Yeah, we're going through that now in a new community. How to be of service effectively, not shoving what we think down somebody's throat, but asking around and going like, what's really going on, and can we somehow adapt to, you know, the needs of our neighbors?
Yeah.
And you don't know till you ask, and you don't know unless you listen. That's a hard lesson for me, man. I'm not the best listener. But yeah, I mean, I've had to learn these things, and I'm getting better at that kind of thing. I kind of like to do things my way.
Yeah. I've got it
Doesn't always
figured out.
quite work out, you know.
Yeah.
And but I mean, like, I know about you that you always have something on your mind. You just
Yeah.
always do. You're one of those guys. I can spot them.
That might be the lack of sleep. Too.
Yeah, and
That's why I don't sleep well, right? You go to bed and the mind starts running.
But there's a reason. You know, people like you make the world spin. And
Like us.
well, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of fun doing it. It's kind of selfish. I just enjoy the book thing and
Yeah.
to get to know the kids, clowning with the boys, and there's no better fun. That's better than anything in my life that I get to do.
That's
hanging out with Mel.
That's what it
and,
is.
You know, going to the basketball games and stuff with the kids, and keeps us young at my house, I think.
Yeah.
And I just think that we need to be models for other adults to treat these kids respectfully, and
Amen.
to look at the good side and not the other side, you know.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It really is. I think it's hard for a lot of people. It's a dangerous world,
Yes.
you know, and mistakes are fatal. That's why that story and the movie that I wrote was so shocking. It was a different world. You know, we played ball in the street, and the street lights were on, and you know,
Yeah.
and somebody drove by, and nobody's going to shoot anybody, or you know, and it's I think people are hesitant to help each other. It's it's tricky, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, no, that's beautiful, and I think the one thing that I really enjoy about you is that you're very willing to impart what you've learned to others. You know, a lot of times people will take whatever knowledge they have and immediately just apply it to their own life, and there's the benefit, right?
Yeah.
It's I'm paying off for me, and you tend to like, okay, well, let me find who I can impart this with or share this with, because it was a gift that was given to me. Let me pass it on now to these young people who really need it.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I don't think of myself like. I mean, you see me differently than I see myself.
Yeah. Oh,
I think I'm pretty selfish, and I just kind of do these things for fun and maybe
I would see
something
it
good
all.
will happen. But
I don't see that at all.
but I'm fortunate to be able to hang out with guys like you. I don't run around talking about this stuff. I'm an under the radar dude, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that. I just enjoy the hand to hand of it.
Yeah.
You know, with these kids and watching them grow up and see what happens, and watching. I get a big kick out of the kid unzips their backpack and one of our books is in there.
That's cool moment.
That's
Yeah.
better than
Full
Christmas, dude.
Full circle, like,
It just
that's-
is. You know, it just is. And
That's beautiful. Well,
yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming all the way from Morro Bay. To
I
be
could
here
not
with
say
us.
no to you. I got a haircut, dude. Okay, I was
Tom got a
looking
haircut.
like
You got-
I was
you got
looking
like his
like
hair?
Bernie Sanders. Said I'm gonna get a
Oh.
haircut for Rob and get in the car.
Appreciate that. So,
But just don't stop, man. Just
Yeah.
don't stop, because
thank you.
you just never know. Everybody's watching all the time. Something might rub off. And don't be I tell the kids, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Shit, put
Yeah.
yourself out there. You know,
Yeah.
just let her rip.
Scary
if you're helping.
sometimes.
So, well, you know, it's people are critics too.
hmm
Like you say, somebody's going to tell you how to do the library next time, right?
Or the podcast.
Hey, guess what? The library's going to be there in 100 years. And
No.
that dude's library. Who knows? Who knows what happens with that?
Yeah. Or even this, when we do this, I don't know, Jim, I'm sure you get some feedback sometimes, right? And it was like, hey, we got to fix this and that. And it's, you know, it's a very vulnerable position. I get on Jim early on because he was the pro, right? He's been doing camera work for 25 years
Yeah.
with professional on-air talent.
I know he's scary.
Yeah. So then I come in, right? And it's like the new rapper trying to work with Dr. Dre, and you want to impress him, and you're
Right.
like, so what do you think? He didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Where do you
So-
start? Yeah. Where
He
would you
wants
start?
the positive criticism.
no,
Yeah.
nothing. Hey, you know that? No, but you know, he was most honest when he wasn't working with me.
Yeah.
Because I started in this room at my house, right? And I had some college students who were helping me out, and we were doing the best we could. And so he calls me one day. He's like, "Dude, that lighting, the sound, can you lean into the mic?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, "Wow, this is really good." And I'm starting to listen, and I'm starting to get better. And he's kind of coaching me up, right? So then he builds this. We get here,
Look at you now.
and you know, here we are. And so thank you, Jim.
No, I
Thank
appreciate it, man. Wouldn't
It's
do
a
that.
love fest.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to Rob Live. As Jim has said, please like and subscribe, and we can make his
Yes.
birthday wish by December 25th. We're looking for 1,000 subscribers. We're at 502. So please consider that. Also support our guest and artist. In this case, Tom Nelson has a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out. We're going to give you guys links to the MJ project if you want to help with that. We're going to give you links to some of the work he's done in the past. And even he has some work on Roku and Netflix, and he has some new things he's doing. So please support the people who come out and do the show for us. And until next time, it's love, peace, and
Thank you,
chicken
guys.
grease. Rob Live, we're out.